Hey, Brambro back with some Grand Tactician Civil War in the 1.06 beta playthrough. And I think we got a little bit to talk about. Got a lot of comments from yesterday's video, which is awesome. I like the comments. And there's a lot of good thoughts going on out there. And so I hope that continues. I want to talk a little bit about the railroads. So we saw where, okay, I started constructing a couple of railroads a couple episodes ago. Came back, they weren't building. There were a whole bunch of other railroads that were available, and I picked another one. Okay, that's a bug. All of those railroads that came available had been previously constructed and have always been constructed in not just this patch, but like in the game ever since it was pre-release. Those were existing railroads that all of a sudden weren't constructed anymore, and that is that's a bug in 1.06. Specifically, I think the timing matches specifically in 1.0618. which is the newest version of the new patch, which only updated to the beta, probably about 48 hours ago, as I'm recording this on May 6th. Okay, that wasn't happening under the previous 1.06, which has been on the dev branch, I think, for a couple weeks now, right? But this railroad thing just now started happening to people. And it turns out that this New Orleans to Tallahassee Railroad that I started building at the end of the last episode, well, that railroad was there before. I'm rebuilding a railroad there that should already be in place. Okay, it is what it is. And so so if I understand correctly, my view of what's happening is in a save, you save a game that is 1.0617 or earlier, and then you load in with a 1.0618 game, and boom, that's what strips the railroads off. So the first thing I was a little had some trepidation about was, okay, I'm loading in this save from yesterday. Am I still building that New Orleans Tallahassee Railroad now? Or did it kick it out again? And it turns out, let me just get the proof here. Yes, we're still building that railroad under construction, 421 days. So, at least now it's going to keep building, as it should. About the length of construction, because yesterday we looked, okay, 222 days, and then we took the railroad production project, built it, and then looked and it said 421. Well, that doesn't make sense. Well, it does make sense, because what I didn't register it during play, but while I was editing, it's clearly visible in the video. Before I constructed that railroad, the tooltip did reflect a shorter construction time. It had shaved off 222 days to 211 days. And that's clearly visible in the video yesterday. I just didn't notice it until editing. So that project did save about a week and a half of construction time. And it's just the tier 1, right? The first level of that project. So, it's a pretty minor change, but it is one, and that would get shorter and shorter and shorter if one takes more levels. So why is it taking 421 days instead now that we're actually constructing? And one commenter had a good thought that I think is probably the most the simplest, most likely explanation that the projected build time in the tooltip isn't taking into account, cannot take into account, if you think about it, other building projects going on. Now that it's actually building, that railroad construction is competing for resources with, what's the laundry list? 2 forts, 5 markets, 2 hospitals. You get the point? And so, yeah. That projected build time is assuming that's the only thing being built. Other stuff is going to take resources away from that. So, do we know for sure that's really what's happening? No. Right? I mean, this is all a big puzzle we're trying to put together. But I think that's a pretty good explanation. And I think that's probably what's going on there until we get evidence to suggest otherwise, right? I think it's a pretty good working hypothesis. Okay. That also begs the question, though. Let's just take another look at these forts up here. How long is it taking me to build those? 95 days. Now, if I wasn't building anything else, no markets, no railroads, would those still be 95 days? Or would that be down more like the typical 50 days that we were used to before the patch? Are all these other buildings competing for resources as well? I don't know. But I bet they are. And here's another thought. I've been talking about, that's been a theme now, right? For a couple of episodes. Is, oh my gosh, these forts are expensive. Ah. And I think that's legitimate. They are too expensive. We've spent enough time on that. But I've been talking about how, I feel like I've committed to building these because of the cost. Let me take this filter off. And I can't afford to move this army. Well, is that true? Maybe if I just move the Shenandoah army away, and these things stop building, and maybe 36 million comes off my damn ledger balance here, right? So maybe I've been thinking about this wrong. Maybe it's not, I can't afford to move this army. Instead, maybe it's, I can't afford not to move this army and get that 36 million off the books that I didn't really intend to spend initially. I just got suckered into it trying to protect Winchester. Either way, I think it's a pretty good little experiment here to see what exactly happens if I stop building these forts. I mean, we've already kind of crossed the threshold here from, hey, we're just playing Grand Tactician Civil War. Let's play the CSA. I mean, we're doing the 1.06. So, yeah, let's do some things that we might not otherwise do just to see what happens. Even if it kind of messes up our campaign, right? So, I'm not going to do it yet, but when I get around to, okay, what are these armies doing? What am I doing in this theater? I may just move this army away, and let's see what happens economically. If I stop building these forts, do we see a big drop in the time that it's going to take to finish that railroad, right? I mean, that would go a long way towards supporting Wise Old Geezer's hypothesis that they're all competing with each other for resources. So, yeah, we'll take a look at that. Let me turn my monuments off. I know I say it like all the time, but these need to be default. Telegraph and supply. Just leave them turned on, damn it. That's not a 1.06 thing. That's always bugged me. Okay, enough about that. The other thing I want to talk about is the battle in the last episode, specifically the conclusion of that battle, which time hasn't advanced. We're still, I think, in retreat mode here, and we'll see where Price retreats to. Right, so lost that battle, and obviously it was not at all clear at the time why I lost that battle. And there's already been some comments about it in the yesterday's video comments. So I've been thinking about this, and I noticed a couple things in the while I was editing and kind of rewatching some of that footage. I think it's pretty clear. Even at the time, it was clear. I did not lose that battle because of the direct victory relevant metrics, which are who holds the objective, losses, i.e. casualties, routes, and morale. In all four of those categories, Price's army was pretty clearly ahead. By a large margin. Didn't lose the battle because of that. Price lost because that army, for whatever reason, triggered going into mandatory retreat phase before the Federal Army did. And once that retreat phase was triggered for a Confederate retreat, at that point, the victory conditions, objective casualties, route, morale, didn't matter anymore. It was a Confederate retreat, and it was going to be a loss regardless. And so the question becomes, what exactly triggers going into that retreat phase? That's not necessarily the same set of conditions or metrics that determine victory. Right? It's kind of so it looks to me like there's a separate set of conditions there that trigger that phase. I also noticed during that, while editing, during the battle, I had moved a brigade in to flank the rear guard Federal Brigade, and it wound up moving in too close because the commander of that brigade had switched on his own initiative to short range fire. And so when I moved him in to attack, he went in way too close and got shot at. So that was Slack's brigade, and what I had not noticed and did not notice during play was that Slack's brigade had gone to like 0 loss resilience during previous fighting. He was actually even closer to 0 resilience than Pender's brigade was, which was also very, very, had just had a sliver of resilience left himself. I had 4 infantry brigades. 2 of them were essentially zeroed out on loss resilience. 50% of my infantry was at the breaking. They weren't breaking or even wavering, which is kind of interesting in itself. But they were both like just, like that old Monty Python skit, right? Wafer thin, before exploding. I wonder if the loss resilience, even though it's not directly tied to victory conditions, maybe that is a factor in triggering retreat phase. I'm just speculating. I don't know if that's the case at all. But I feel like there's I don't want to go with new patch, it's buggy, the game's all messed up. There's a reason why these things happen, and if it is a bug, maybe we can figure out why that bug is happening. I don't know if it is. I'm not convinced that's a bug. Because these last two battles, this campaign in general so far, right, 4 battles, but the last 2 battles in particular, on a percentage basis, have been unusually bloody. And so, and in fact, in the previous battle, the Alexandria battle, we had a similar case where, it got really confusing during the retreat phase on who was winning. And it was showing me taking a minor defeat. We wound up getting the minor victory. Why did that happen? I think because the AI entered retreat phase before I did. And even though I continued taking casualties, the fact that the AI had entered retreat phase locked it in to a win, for a minor victory for me, regardless of what actually happened during the retreat phase. So kind of my lesson learned is the outcome of the battle is really determined by who goes into retreat first. That whatever changes occur in the actual victory conditions, casualties, objective, loss, and routes, don't matter anymore. The outcome, at least in terms of who wins, it can still shift between major and minor. But once locked into retreat, you're retreating and that battle is lost. Period. Regardless of what... You get what I'm saying. I'm starting to say the same things over and over. And what triggers that retreat phase may not be identical. There may be other factors at play. And I think loss resilience is one of them. And these last 2 battles have been unusually bloody for percentage of losses. And we talked about that before. And why that may or may not be happening. And so I think going forward in these battles, have to pay closer attention to that. And I think I'm going to start trying. Habits take time to build. I'm not saying I'm going to be perfect. But I think I need to start paying more attention to kind of the overall loss resilience levels of my units. And try harder not to let a whole bunch of my units approach 0 resilience. And that may not even be a 1.06 thing. I've played a lot of this game. I've got 3 complete campaigns posted on YouTube. And of course, I played the game before I started doing recording as well. Never had that happen before. But then y'all see how I play, too. I'm pretty conservative, and usually everything's a lot more lopsided, and I just never approach those kinds of thresholds for loss resilience in my units. Overall, 1 or 2 here and there that bear the brunt of an attack, sure. But these last 2 battles, I've kind of gotten in some pretty bad casualty percentage situations, even though the Federals are even worse. And that finally begs one other question. If this is happening to me, but the Federals are even at a higher casualty percentage, then their loss resilience has to be even worse, right? So why did they not enter a retreat phase even earlier than I did? I don't know the answer to that. It's an ongoing quest to try to figure things out and improve our understanding of how this game works. Okay, I think enough of that. I think we've learned I'm probably building more than I should. So I'm not going to build anything more in this episode. I'm going to kind of wait for some of these things to finish building. And yeah, let's just assume that I'm going to do it. I'm going to move the Shenandoah army away, and I'm going to stop building these forts. And let's just see what happens. That might be a completely awful move, but I don't think so. Just one day until Beauregard gets his his guys, and two days until Johnson gets his guys. It's pretty funny. One of the old campaigns, not even the last one before that, but somebody watched a battle in that, and I'd forgotten about it, but it was a battle that was a little chaotic. It turned out fine, won the battle, but there was a lot of moving back and forth and some slow units, and it was kind of a mess. And somebody commented, "You remind me of Beauregard. Great plan, and they completely screw up the execution of it." And the commenter wasn't wrong. It was a mess. But I was thinking, Beauregard? I'm content. It could have been a lot worse. I was okay to get away with I was fine to get away with a Beauregard analogy in that battle. I'm cool with it. All right. I don't want to move Beauregard himself because I just kind of want him sitting for a while to kind of regain some readiness here. But I don't want this whole area just open. Like, we can't even see anybody over here. And, there's this hospital that's vulnerable. There's, the road to Richmond, the whole 9 yards. So I'm going to go ahead and move Shenandoah Valley back over to this side of the Blue Ridge for now. And that should stop building these forts, and we'll see what that does to the budget. And I'm going to put Johnston on Scout. Then I'm going to move him. I want him to be within reinforcement range of Beauregard. I think if we bring him here, that ought to be close enough where we can at least see some of these federal armies. I mean, we know where Patterson is. He's capturing Alexandria. But let's see if maybe we can catch sight of what McDowell is up to. Okay. Do we want to go ahead and push Garnett up to Wheeling? Last time we caught sight of the West Virginia militia, they were around here, and they were smaller than Garnett. However, their projected size was larger. I kind of think if we come up here, by then he will have become larger than Garnett's force, which is only 2,700 men. So I don't think we want to seek a battle there yet. How are we doing here with the Tennessee Army yellow readiness? It does have 1,600 men. I mean, this is basically the largest CSA field force in existence now. And as yet, we do know. I had mentioned earlier that we don't see that supply depot here anymore. Maybe that means we can't see him anymore? No, that's not true. Yes, that icon, not icon, but the little building on the map, that is there. But the West Virginia militia had moved down here. They weren't building that anymore. I think this thing simply reverted back down to 0. There is no supply depot there. Because in other places, we can still see them. like at Cairo. So there's an army of some type, some size here. And this is a pre-existing supply depot. However, we do apparently have some intel that there is an army of Indiana forming up here. Just formed because 0 troops projected to only reach 3,800. I think I'm going to push Johnston on up. I don't know where he's getting supply from. I've got supply turned on. 0 depots connected. So I guess he's getting all the supply he needs right there from Bowling Green. I guess. And he's simply too close to it to show the little green supply arrow. Let's move him up to Munfordville. I need to recruit some more troops. I would really like to wait until we get the Militia Act finished before we do that, so we get 2-year volunteers. How are we doing on that? Oh, well, okay, so that's basically going to complete just as soon as I start running time. Okay, that's cool. And I think the obvious next policy is military 2. Because that increases our military subsidies. Which is pretty much all this thing does now. But it's pretty important because we've already seen in our projects, you know, we've had some of these political ones fill already. We took the railroad construction. And we got it, but we just don't have, these things aren't filling very fast. We'll be able to pick some soon. But these aren't filling as fast. We need more military subsidies. So military 2 is going to be the next policy. Period. In fact, just look at our finances. $5 million for politics, $2.5 million for military. Yeah, we're going to bump that. We're going to bump that guy up, definitely. And we need to get it probably followed by industry. Maybe the first, maybe 2 industries in a row. Okay. So I need to recruit some guys. Don't really have weapons for the new units. So, but I'm going to wait here just a little bit for that policy to finish before I recruit them. For 2-year volunteers. All right, let's get time rolling and see. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, okay. Our 2 little raiders. There's only 2 little steamers in here. They're still on their way up to the trade nodes. And how's our telegraph doing? Okay, no. Okay, it's still building here. Although apparently, even just saw this before in a previous campaign, even before 1.06. Apparently, once you start building a telegraph station, it already plugs into the network. So, this engineering corps is doing that, and then he's going to come over here to Columbus and do the same thing. And then he's going to start building telegraph up this way. All right, let's get time rolling and see where price retreats. U.S. credit rating. Uh-oh. Okay, those are 2-year contracts. Let's just stop time here for a second. What's going on here? I'm at D. I'm at a D for credit rating. Well, so much for recruiting troops. And apparently it's not able to even calculate what our national morale is. It's not able to calculate national morale or national support for either CSA or USA. And also, apparently, or economy. So something is broken now with economic calculations and national morale and national support. Okay. I don't know if this graph really tells us anything. It went all the way down before. Apparently on July 32nd. And then it's back up and then it's back down. Is this related to save games? Maybe it'll fix itself. Apparently my national wealth among the population is rich. Oh yeah, it's not even registering administration, army upkeep, recruitment, supply depots, and only tariffs, but not any sales tax or land sales. So it's zeroed out for revenue because it's incomplete information. There's no number for revenues or expenses. And that's probably true for the union side as well. WTF. Okay. Actually, hold on. Let me bring that back up. I want to screenshot this. It feels like this needs to go into a... And I want to screenshot this. So maybe it'll just run a day or two and then it'll kind of fix itself. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I built some expensive forts, but goodness gracious, I shouldn't be having this D credit rating. Never seen that before. I bet nobody else has either. Where's Johnston? Maybe he's just hidden exactly underneath. Does he still exist? Okay, he's still here somewhere. And the game crashed. Okay. I think... here's another one up here. Look at this. 214,000 transport capacity for sea, river, and rail. I think we've gotten to that point where maybe it's time for me to say, I think that will do for this episode. And I said earlier, hey, we'll just keep going with this campaign, figure some stuff out. Look at, I don't know if that's going to happen now. I think we've reached that point, but so I'm not sure. This may be the last episode of this campaign. We'll see how that pans out. I'll go back and reload and see if it kind of gets back on track. If not, this may be it. I'll pin a comment later saying, yeah, that was it. If it turns out to be the case. In any case, hey, just a quick coda tacking on to the end of that rather abruptly ended episode. So I'm recording this a little bit later. It went on to the Steam discussions, and some of the things we've talked about, of course, are being highlighted there as well. And caught sight of one developer response saying, "Yep, we're on it. It's a problem. It's going to be fixed in 1.0619." And but then he mentioned, "Yeah, it'll be fixed in that. However, your current save is borked." Yeah. So it's not going to be save compatible. We'll fix it, but your current save is trashed. So I don't think. Basically, what I'm saying is this campaign in particular is done. Not going to stop GTCW content, not going to stop exploring 1.06. I'll be back with that. But I'm going to start a new campaign once 1.0619 is out. Okay? Because right now there are issues with 1.8. And even if they're fixed, it ain't going to fix this save. So it's going to be a little bit of a hiatus for however many days that takes. But whenever they get 1.9 back out, I will be back with another 1.06 beta CSA campaign. And hope to see all of you back for that. All right. Please leave a like, leave a comment, maybe a sub. Thank you very, very much for watching.